Jason Grundy asks, what is your favorite vegan dish?
Wow. When I was in Peru, I discovered something really new and amazing. Mushroom ceviche. I had never had it before, and I saw it on the menu of this organic restaurant I went to in Cusco. So I ordered it. They actually made mushrooms two ways, and the other was in sort of a mustard sauce kind of thing. Those mushrooms were so good. I've been trying to recreate them since I got home, and I'm still, ceviche has not been very easy for me. I'm a little better with the mustard sauce. So I'm still trying to figure out those recipes, but I love mushrooms, and those were great, great dishes.
Oscar asks, what are you going to do with your Apple products now that you're disappointed with them?
I'm still struggling with them. I guess I'm sort of thinking that maybe pilot error has a lot to do with my problems with Apple, so I'm not writing them off completely yet. I'm still working on it to see why me interfacing with Apple is such a challenge. But I definitely know that I liked the way BlackBerry handled email and the BlackBerry Twitter app just worked so much better for me. So I switched back. I just couldn't handle it. I wasn't being spontaneous with my tweets because I just didn't like dealing with Apple.
Kevin wants to know, are you going to run another marathon?
That remains to be seen. I was thinking about doing the San Francisco Marathon, but it just didn't work out for me time-wise with this event coming up in May 6th. So I don't know that it's going to happen this year. It could happen sometime in the future. It was fun. I still haven't gotten over it. Like it might be like having a baby. I might need to forget how difficult it was before I try it again.
Gary asked, how hard was the transition to your current diet?
It actually wasn't that difficult for me because I was coming from a place where I wasn't happy with my diet in the first place. If you're one of those people who, even though you're struggling and suffering, you still love the way you eat, I imagine that the transition could be hard. But I wasn't enjoying food at all at the time that I made the transition. So I was actually fasting when I came to the conclusion that I wanted to become a vegan. So since I wasn't eating anything at all, I was mostly drinking green drinks made from, super nutritious green powders and drinking juices. It just became a matter of what are you adding back into your diet as opposed to what are you leaving out.
Amy asks, would you ever consider being on The Bachelorette TV show?
The Bachelorette. No.
How about Millionaire Matchmaker?
Millionaire Matchmaker only if I was after the millionaire. When they approached me, they actually approached me about that show
Did
this
they really?
year, and they said I had to be the millionaire.
What movie did that
I'm like,
mean?
I don't want to be the millionaire. I want to be going after the millionaire.
The moderator's voice needs to be louder. Can't hear the questions. I'll talk
Ah,
louder.
okay.
Um, James Capalonga says, hi, Robin. It's James. Rosie O'Donnell's a producer. Met you in the fishbowl a few weeks ago.
Uh-huh.
Are you still... Are the pre-made green drinks that you mix with water as good nutritionally as the real thing? I buy Amazing Grassland.
I don't think that anything beats a real live green juice, but in a pinch and to supplement your diet, those green mixtures, those powders you find in the health food store, sure, they're packed with nutrition and it's a large amount of nutrition and a small amount of calories, which is a great idea always. And so I still use them, especially when I'm traveling and can't get live juice. And I use them to add to smoothies because you can always use an extra nutritional burst in any drink.
David Alkier asks, do you wake up early on non-show days out of habit?
Well, I wouldn't say I wake up as early as I do when I have a show, but it's hard for me to sleep in. Actually that was one of the nice things about depression.
Finally got some sleep.
I can stay in bed. I hadn't done that in years.
Did you watch any of the royal wedding, or are you going to listen to a royal waste of time?
Oh God, you know what? I still hadn't set up one of those apps for my phone, so I didn't have the ability to listen to a royal waste of time since I've been here, but I'm going to try to catch it once I get home on the weekend before the show starts on Monday. And I did, you can't avoid the royal wedding coverage. You turn on your TV in the morning and, ABC's Good Morning America was there. They were all there, so you couldn't avoid it.
Amy asks, what do you listen to on your iPod when you exercise?
I listen to rock and roll. I just downloaded a bunch of Beatles music as soon as that came available on iTunes, and I have, all the greats, the classics, and Bon Jovi and Maroon 5, some of the new groups, or Nirvana and Pearl Jam, and I just love rock and roll.
Another diet question. Jim says, do you concern yourself with the carb content in the items that you eat other than vegetables?
Yes, I do. I don't like really heavy foods. And one of the things I find when I'm traveling is most people think that they need to feed vegans and vegetarians pasta and potatoes and beans and all of this heavy, high carb stuff. I just like vegetables. And when I'm at home, very rarely do I eat anything that's, a concentrated carb like bread or pasta or potatoes, any of that stuff, beans. I like vegetables.
Drew and Cameron both want to know if you can talk more about your concert that's coming up.
Okay, I can talk more about the concert that's coming up. We're still formulating it. We thought it was really important to do something musical with the kids who are supported by these charities. So we had a group called MIMA work with them to teach the kids to improvise music, and each group, some of the very young kids and some of the middle school age kids, each got to improvise a song on their own and make a video, and hopefully they'll be able to perform the night of the show along, as openings to, the big performance by Leon Russell that night. And so we're still working on that, getting that all set. We may have, one or two other opening acts to supplement the program that night, but we're excited about seeing the kids because it's always nice to see the people that are going to be experiencing the results of the work that you do. And so they'll be there. The Leon Russell will be there, who's having a great year. They even just premiered a documentary of the work between him and Elton John and their collaboration this year, and Leon just was inducted into the Hall of Fame. So very excited about that. He was very generous in making himself available, but he says he's an old hippie and he doesn't really like to meet people, so the meet and greet part of the whole thing didn't quite go down the way I wanted to, but I'm going to get to meet and have my picture taken with Leon Russell, sorry. So it's going to be, one of the things that 15 has always been about is fun events to help publicize the organizations we discover who do great work, and that's what we're doing.
What does the 15 in 15 Foundation stand for?
The 15 in 15 Foundation has to do with the start of something. Every tennis match starts with the first point being counted as 15, and it was our way of saying we're going to help jumpstart programs for worthy causes, and so that's what the 15 means.
Portman65 asks, what do you think of Trump now that he's shown himself out to be a racist nut job?
I think Donald Trump is an opportunist, and he sees that there's a group of people who can be easily brought on your side by saying inflammatory things, and that's what he's doing. He's not running for president. He's not in charge of making policy for anybody, and so I look at this as a little more show business. It's like wrestling. It's like anything else. I don't take it seriously. I don't know what Donald Trump is as a person. I just know that he likes publicity.
Roseanne asked, have you ever thought about adopting a child?
Oh my God.
Going from the light to the heavy.
Well, it's very funny because when
Can you repeat the
was
question?
okay, all
They
right.
can't hear me.
I just got asked the question if I had ever thought of adopting a child. And you're going to be surprised by this, but the answer to that is yes. And the other surprising thing about it is when it happened. It happened to me when I was 14 years old. My mother and father used to take in foster children. And at the age of 14, they brought a 5-day-old infant to my home. And I fell in love with that little boy and sort of took him as my own. In fact, my parents moved his crib into my bedroom. So Jimmy and I were like one and the same. Whenever you saw me, you saw Jimmy, unless I was in school. And it was like my mother was my babysitter. And in my mind, I was going to have him for the rest of my life. And when I became 21 and was legal, I was going to adopt him. And of course, at the age of 3.5, he was adopted by another family. And I lost him for a long, long time. But he was so important to me, and it made such an impact on my life. When I was writing my book, and I started to write about that, I found myself just as much in pain as I had been the day they took him away. And I thought, something that hurts that much, I have to resolve. And I hired a private detective to find him, which I did. And so we were reunited, and now we consider ourselves brother and sister. But yeah, that was the time I decided that I should adopt. It hasn't occurred to me since then.
Matt Fisher asks, are you ever tired and how do you like to relax?
I'm tired right now. It was all they could do to get me into this chat. Somebody just asked if I ever get tired and how do I relax. And I do have a lot of energy, and most of the time I'm just sort of, I enjoy my life and I enjoy running around. And when I want to relax, I, kick back, sit down, watch a movie. I love to sit at home and watch movies. I think, um, from the VCR to now the DVD to Blu-ray, one of the greatest things that has happened in my lifetime is the ability to watch a feature-length film at home without interruption. And so I still love to do that. But I also still love to go to a movie theater and have the lights go down and that big screen come up and fill with all the action. And I think that's one of the things I would say is the most relaxing to me.
Who was your favorite guest on the show? Anyone you really wanted to meet?
My favorite guest on the show. Geez, that's very difficult. We have the ability now practically to have almost anyone on the show that you might admire, and so it's hard to pick. How am I going to pick between Chris Rock or I can't even think. There are people when they leave, I'm like, they're the greatest guest ever. I don't know why we would ever not have them in. And right now, no names are coming to me except Chris, but, that's not to take anything away from some of the other people who are absolutely fantastic on the show. I enjoy anyone who comes in because they come in now knowing that they have to be honest, they have to be real, they have to come with good material. It's really an interesting position the Howard Stern show has wound up in. We are sort of like the Johnny Carson show of our times because comedians consider it quite an honor to be able to get booked on the show. And everybody comes and they say, with Howard, you have to give it up. And so people are continually making news from our program, and it's just amazing what has happened.
Kathy asks, which guest has made you angriest on the show?
Has anyone ever made me angry? A guest? The only person who comes to mind is Gilbert. Because sometimes, just like with Sam Kinison, sometimes when Gilbert comes to the show, it's like a wrestling match because he'll get onto something that he knows is irritating, and he'll just keep driving it home and driving it home and driving it home. And, after a while, it's not funny, and then it gets funny again, and then it's not funny.